The end of no-fault divorce is also on the table in the United States. Remember how I've been talking about all of these puzzle pieces and how they're all getting closer and closer to coming together to make the world's most sinister illustration? Here's another piece. Before we dive into this Guardian article and have a couple of important tangents, I want to introduce myself to the people that are new here. Hello, my name is Shayna. I'm a journalist. I talk a lot about child-free living, decentering men, all of that great stuff, all through an intersectional lens while trying to keep it just funny enough so that way we're not crying, screaming through these videos. Bing, bang, boom. So if any of that sounds interesting, please like, share, subscribe, all that great, sexy stuff. And if I say anything that particularly resonates, I always appreciate a super thanks. But now let's dive in to this. Starting at the top, some prominent conservative lawmakers and commenters are advocating for ending no-fault divorce, laws that exist in all 50 U.S. states and allow a person to end a marriage without having to prove a spouse did something wrong, like commit adultery or domestic violence. The socially conservative and often religious right-wing opponents of such divorce laws are arguing that the practice deprives people, mostly men, of due process and hurt families and, by extension, society. Wah. God, I can't stand men. Republican lawmakers in Louisiana, Oklahoma, Nebraska, and Texas have discussed eliminating or increasing restrictions on no-fault divorce laws. Defenders of such laws, which states started passing a half century ago, see legislation and arguments to repeal them as the latest effort to restrict women's rights, following the overturning of Roe v. Wade and the passage of abortion laws around the country, and say that without such protections, the country right over here. The country would return to an earlier era when women were often trapped in abusive marriages. No-fault divorce is critical to the ability, particularly the ability of women to be able to exercise autonomy in their own relationships, in their own lives, said Denise Lieberman, an adjunct professor at the Washington University School of Law in St. Louis, who has a specialty in policies concerning gender, sexuality, and sexual violence. So just to quickly recap, basically, the ability to say, nah, bro, I'm good. I don't like being married to you anymore, so I'm a go. That is on the table for the real snip snip. Just summarizing, okay? Now we're going to get into some of the history of no-fault divorce laws in the United States from the top. Before 1969, when California got Republican Governor Ronald Reagan, boo, who had been divorced, approved the country's first no-fault divorce laws, women who are more likely to experience violence from an intimate partner were often forced to stay in marriages. If they could not prove that their husband had been abusive or persuade him to grant a divorce, they would not be able to take any assets from the marriage or remarry, according to a study in the Quarterly Journal of Economics. Now, yes, this is a very anti-Ronald Reagan page for obvious reasons, but it's good that he started this and then continue on. It says that the states around America gradually followed suit, and that New York became the last state to approve this practice. Between 1976 and 1985, states that passed the laws saw their domestic violence rates against men and women fall by about 30%. The number of women murdered by an intimate partner declined by 10%, and female suicide rates declined from 8 to 16. These are all good things, right? These are all really good things for men and women, for people to say, hey, this marriage is no longer serving me. But why would it be so bad if this continued? Because obviously women are the ones that tend to be leading the cause when it comes to leaving a marriage. Why? Because marriage benefits men. Having immediate access to a woman at all times benefits men. I made so many videos about this. I'm gonna tag them right over there. I'm gonna tag the ones that I can remember right over there. But basically that's this entire playlist. Let's continue from the top. Without such laws, it's hard to prove anything in court relating to a family because you don't have any witnesses, said Kimberly Welle, professor at the University of Baltimore School of Law. It is very difficult to get evidence to show abuse of children. How do you do it? Put your kids on the stand? Quick pause. While some people might say, oh yeah, what's like so bad about putting a kid on the stand? Imagine reliving some of the most traumatic experiences of your life in a public setting by yourself physically in front of strangers as a child. Your brain is still basically putty, electric putty, putting itself together. And that now becomes a core facet of who you are. Yeah, just putting that together for the people who might not get that. Conservative commenters such as Matt Walsh and Stephen Crowder have argued that the laws are unfair to men and hurt society because they lead to more divorces. The Republican Senator J.D. Vance of Ohio has also criticized the impact of divorce on U.S. society. One, I always find it laughable when men say, oh, these kinds of things hurt men, women's autonomy and women's rights hurt men, because under a patriarchal system, you hurt yourself. Y'all are the reason why we are getting these divorces. I've never been married, praise them. But for the people that are trying to get out, it's y'all fault. It's y'all men's, the books. It's all your fault, right? Oh my God. And the impact of divorce on US society, the increase of divorces help women. Honestly, it helps everybody to be able to find a more compatible partner if that is what they want. But more times than not, when a woman gets divorced, she says, I'm good. When a woman has to flee in any, whether it's for the sake of her physical safety or her mental safety. I know women who I have never experienced in such real time. When somebody says, I almost lost my mind. I have a friend and I tell her consistently, I'm so happy that you kept your mind, because she could have lost it. She could have literally just been a shell, ended her marriage as a shell as who she was, and her mind would have just disassociated and flown so far away from her lived experience in order to preserve itself. My friend could have lost her mind. And the fact that she has kept it, she's still here with us because she divorced. This is the impact. This is the impact that they were talking about. But this benefits her. It does not benefit the man that she fled from. This is what they're talking about. Marriage benefits men. The divorce rate in the United States increased significantly from 1960, when it was 9.2 per 1,000 married women, to 22.6 in 1980. But by 2022, that rate had fallen to 14. You want to know why? Because women were allowed to choose who they wanted to be with here. And most of them said, I don't want you. I'm running. Peace out. And then in between this time over here and this time over here, women had the ability to say, okay, I don't necessarily need you financially. My livelihood does not depend on me having a man. Me having a house doesn't depend on me having a man. Me having a bank account doesn't depend on that. Let me try and choose better. Try. We know that they switch up on us all the time. But also between here and here, there's also the security of I can leave, which is why it rose a little bit. Security, autonomy, and security helped people to potentially stay together. My phone may be overheating, but I am committed to getting this video done. But without such laws, victims of domestic, also I skipped a whole bunch in this. So if you want to read some of the pieces that I skipped over, please, I'm including the link below. Without such laws, victims of domestic abuse would then have to navigate a court system that can be time-consuming, very adversarial, and very costly, because the plaintiff must then pay for childcare and transportation, says Miriam Durrani, Vice President of Policy for the National Domestic Violence Hotline. Any sort of additional barrier that we add to the ease of legal proceedings is, frankly, a nightmare and an enormous burden for survival, says Durrani. I am not trying to be an alarmist, but it can increase death if a survivor of domestic violence has to prove that they are being abused in a divorce proceeding. She doesn't have to be an alarmist because I will. It will increase the number of deaths when it if no fault of if survivors have to get on the stand and find evidence and gather evidence that proves that they are being abused in their relationships, it will increase the number of deaths. Why? Because when you are trying to leave is the most dangerous time for for people who are trying to survive. There we go. People who are trying to survive domestic violence. This is a section of an article from the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence organization. Right up here, I highlighted it for us. Abusers repeatedly go to extremes to prevent the victim from leaving. In fact, leaving an abuser is the most dangerous time for a victim of domestic violence. One study found in interviews with men who have killed their wives that either threats of separation by their partner or actual separations were most often the precipitating events that led to the murder. We are watching this in real time in this article because you see this little button right over here, safety exit. That is a button that if you are somebody that's in a DV situation and you are reading this article to try and gather information, and let's say that your husband is coming in and you don't want to alert him that you just click this and it brings you straight to Google. You just click this button and it brings you straight to Google, because even reading an article like this could trigger the violent nature in a man's brain that can say, oh my goodness, she's trying to leave. I need to do something. If I can't have you, nobody can. Like, it is so. So now imagine with me that you are trying to leave somebody that you fear, that terrifies you, that you have concerns for your well-being. But now you have to collect evidence within your own house without triggering them that you are trying to collect evidence. And then you have to bring that evidence to court. And who knows how long these court proceedings go. And in the midst of these court proceedings, you still have to go back home. In the midst of those court proceedings, let's say that you have like one shared bank account and you can't get a hotel. Let's say that you all have all the same friends and they all believe him. I understand that the person, the law professor was like, I don't want to be alarmist, but we have alarms for a reason. So I'm gonna ring them. Let's just wrap this up. Still, Lieberman does not think Republicans will succeed in their efforts to make it more difficult for people to get divorced. I do believe that the train has left the station. I mean, we have had no-fault divorce for 50 years, Lieberman said, but I don't think the Supreme Court would overturn Roe v. Wade. I didn't think the Supreme Court would overturn Roe v. Wade, which we had for 50 years. So I suppose we will see. As I was scrolling through the gram, I came across this that I'm getting ready to show you, and I think that it is one of the many good reactions that can be had to this information. Right over here. As a divorce attorney, I wholeheartedly advocate that if no-fault divorces are outlawed, that women should stop getting married, period. There are no upsides if you are trapped. And if they remove no fault, maintenance and child support could be next. I'm not even gonna hold you. You take what I'm about to say with as many fistfuls of salt as you need. I'm not for those of you who are married, who are in long-term relationships, who are in common law marriages, you got your fistfuls of salt. Take as much as you need. My name's just Shayna. In the same way that I have been advocating for everybody to get their passports renewed as soon as possible, because who knows what is going to happen after the 2024 election period comes along, if that common law marriage legal, whatever it is, if that booga that you are living with is stressing you out, if you feel like, I've kind of been like toying with the idea of leaving for a while now, for a few months, for a few years now, but I don't really, in the same way that they could shut down, hypothetically, once again, I'm just looking at all the puzzle pieces. In the same way that they could hypothetically shut down the borders in and out of the United States if too many people are trying to leave, they could also say, hey, listen, now that we have decided that common law marriage is, not common law, that no fault divorces are out of there, now you're stuck. And there could be a huge rush, especially in as people see it starting to ramp up. It's like, oh my goodness, we only have like a couple more weeks. Let me get this divorce underway. It takes a couple of months to get a divorce underway. My mom she last year divorced my stepdad, who that is a whole other story. Chaotic Libra man. My mom, my favorite Virgo. So it took a couple months. And she had a really, really good law firm that was working with her. They were like, listen, sis, we got you. She was she was out of that marriage in, I want to say like six-ish months. So all of those billboards that you see that say like, oh yeah, divorce for $3.99, we could get it done in a week or so. I'm just saying, ain't no time like the present. Salt, take as much as you need, or just take all my words, throw it out the window. I don't know. My name's just Shayna, but there's a lot that's on the table here. And once that snowball starts rolling, if you don't know where you stand in the trajectory of that snowball, and if you are chained to a lead weight boog, unless you're gonna gnaw off your own foot, I don't know what else to tell you. So these are my thoughts. I would like to hear yours. Ooh, guys, it is crazy out there. Yikes. No time like the present to be single by choice. I am very comfortable where I'm at. This lady, 2 thumbs right here. But yes, I would like to hear your thoughts on this. Once again, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and tippity type your thoughts away in the comment section. Let's have a discussion, because we need to organize. We need to strategize. We need to think about these kinds of what ifs. Because if we don't think about the what ifs, then we're going to be asking, okay, what now? Let's put that out there. My name is Shayna. That's all I know. All right, I'll talk to you later. Bye.